Hello and welcome to the video by Trump Excel. I am Sumit Bansal, and in this video I will show you how to create a dynamic Excel filter. Let me first show you what I mean by a dynamic Excel filter. Here I have the data with product name, sales rep name and the geography, and here I have a filter, a combo box, and you can see there is a drop down with the name of countries in this column, and as soon as I select a country, so for example I select India, it would filter all the records for India. Similarly, if I select any other country, it would filter the record for that country. Now this is a regular filter, but you also have the functionality to type within this combo box. So here, if I type say US, it would instantly filter these records, and it does this while I'm typing. So for example, here if I type India and I type I, it would give me all the countries that have the alphabet I in it. So it would give me India, China, Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore. Similarly, if I type say A, it would give me all the countries that have the alphabet A in it. So this is a dynamic filter where you get the records as you type in the search box. Now let me show you how to create this from scratch. So here I have the raw data. I have the exact raw data, product name, sales rep name and geography, and I would create that. But to first do that, I would need a unique list of these countries because I also need to create a drop down. So to do that, I would select all these countries, copy it, create a new worksheet here, and I would paste the list of countries. So here I have all the countries. Let me name this tab as unique list. Now to remove all the duplicates, I would simply go to data, and here I have remove duplicates option. When I click on this, it would give me the column. Here I only have one column, which is column A, so I would keep it checked. My data does not have headers, so this is unchecked, and I would click OK. And as soon as I do this, you can see it says 12 duplicate values found and removed, 8 unique values remain. So these are the list of countries. Let me again give a header to it, which is unique country list. Now one additional step I would do is I would also create a named range for this, because I would use this named range to create a drop down in the combo box. So to do that, I would go to formulas, and here I have the define names group. Here if you go to define name, I can create a named range. I would name it country list. The scope would be workbook, and the range would be A2 to A9. So in this case I have it in the sheet unique list, and the cell reference is A2 to A9. If you have it somewhere else, you can refer to that area. And now when I click OK, a named range has been made. You can go back and check here in name manager. You can see that here I have country list. I also have country list demo because it was the named range that I have used in the demo that I showed you initial in this video. Now you can see if you click on this, it will show you unique list. This is the list. I'll go back to the dynamic filter list, and the second step would be to create that combo box. So I would go to the developer tab. If you do not have the developer tab, you can simply right click on any of these tabs and go to customize the ribbon, and here you would see that this value, this checkbox is unchecked. You can simply check this and you would have the developer tab there in your ribbon. Now I would go to insert, and within insert you have form controls and ActiveX controls. Here I would select combo box, which is this one. As soon as I click on it and go back to the worksheet and click anywhere else, it would insert the combo box. Now in this combo box, when you right click, you would see that there is a properties option. I would click on properties, and it opens this huge dialog box where I would have to make 3 changes. I would first go and I would have to link a cell. So in this case I would link cell K2. So I would manually type K2 here. Then there would be list fill range. I would type the name of the named range that we created. So it would be country list. And I would make one more change. Here it says match entry, which is match entry complete. I would change this to match entry none, and I'll show you why I made these changes. And now when I close this, my combo box is set. Now if I go to the design mode and I click on it, I can type in my combo box. Now see what happens. As soon as I type anything in this cell, it is reflected in the cell K2, which is the linked cell. Now my combo box is done. I would also have to set the data. So in this case, I would have to create 3 helper columns. So I would create helper column 1, or maybe I can just call it helper 1. I would create helper column 2 and helper column 3. Now in this case, the idea is that if I type something here, so for example here if I type US, then all the records for US should be extracted. So I'm using these 3 helper columns and I would use formulas to do it. The first thing I would do is I would manually have to either type the numbers here, or I can use the rows formula. And I would use rows formula and I would lock the first cell reference so that when it goes down it would give me 2 and 3 and so on. So here it gives me 1, and as I double click it gives me all these numbers till 20. The second helper column would have a formula, and here I would first search for this text which is in cell linked cell K2, and I would search this text within the geography cell. And now if it will find that value, so for example if I double click on this, you can see I'll also have to lock the linked cell, so I would hit F4. Now when I double click on it, you can see that it gives me an error whenever there is no match, but whenever there is a match where there is US here, it gives me a number. So I would use this property and I would say is number, so that it returns trues and false. So for example here it would give me a true wherever there is a US and false when there is not. I would then use an if formula and I would say if it's a true, then give me this number, else give me a blank. And now if I apply this formula overall, you can see that this gives me the number, the row number, wherever there is a match. So for example here if I go back and I type I, you can see it gives me all these numbers because now I is there in India, it's there in China, it's there in Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore. So wherever there is this alphabet I, it would give me the number. And now in the last helper column, the third helper column, I would use the formula small, and I would use this array, and I would say give me the first smallest number, second smallest number, third smallest number, so that all these numbers stack up together here. So again I would use the rows formula and I would lock the first cell reference so that when it goes down it will look for the second smallest number and third smallest number, so on. I would also have to lock this cell reference, and now when I hit enter it gives me 1 here, and when I double click you can see it gives me all these numbers which are stacked up together. I do not want these errors, so I would use the formula if error, if there is no error give me this value, else give me a blank. And now when I double click here you can see that it gives me all these numbers which are stacked up together, and you can see it is very dynamic. If I type US, it gives me these numbers 4, 7, 17 and 18, which are the row numbers which has this countries 4, 7, 17 and 18. Similarly you can try this with other countries as well. If I type Canada, it will give me 14 and 19 because these are the two rows that have this country. Now I simply have to extract this. So for example, let me for demo purposes have US here in the combo box, and I have to extract this data, which means I have to extract these row numbers. So to do that I would simply copy this heading and I would put it here. Let me shift the combo box. And now I would use the index formula here. So in index formula, the array would be this entire array, this entire range of cells. I would press F4 to lock it, and the row number would be this value, and I would have to lock it so that when I go to the right it does not change. So I would have to lock G4, and the column number would be, in this case the column number would be 1 because I need the product name. So I would use the columns formula here. I would again use the same technique and I would lock I4 so that when I go to the right it becomes 2 and then 3. Now when I hit enter you can see it gives me product 4, and as I go to the right, it gives me product for Rachel US, which is product for Rachel US, which is this one, 4th row. If I go down, it gives me product 7, and again if I go to the right, it gives me the right data. Now I do get some error because then there is no data here as it goes down. I would have to use the if error formula again, and I would say if there is no error, give me this value, else give me a blank. And now when I drag this, you can see that I have the data extracted. Now I can simply, for the cosmetic purposes, move this dialog box here so that this linked cell is hidden. I can maybe change the width a bit and align it to the middle so that the value is not visible, or you can simply go and just hide this by making it white, or go to custom number formatting and do that. And here I've set this. Now if you hide all this data, then you would see that this has become a dynamic filter. You have a drop down here, so I would go to the developer tab, get out of the design mode, and now you can see there is this entire drop down list. If I select Indonesia, I have the result for Indonesia. If I select any other country, I would have the result for that country, and I would also have the ability to write here. So if I type China, I would have all the records for China. If I type Canada, then I would have all the records for Canada. So this is how you can create a dynamic filter. Now it is not necessary that your data should reside in the same worksheet. Your backend data could be anywhere in any other worksheet, and you can create a filter as a summary sheet or as a user interface. And it is not even necessary to have this functionality as such. You can also try some variations. For example, in this case, if I type in I, it will give me all the countries which has the alphabet I. But if you want only the countries that start with I, which would be India and Indonesia, then you can configure that in a way where you can use the helper columns, tweak the formula so that it gives you that result. So you can try different variations, but overall this is how you can create a dynamic Excel filter. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you and have a nice day.